Good time to bring in KT McFarland, who joins us this morning. KT, how dangerous is this document? Or to Mike's point there, have they been manipulated, just a misinformation campaign?
You know, it could be any one of a dozen things. It could be people inside the U.S. government that are unhappy with the war in Ukraine. It could be people inside the U.S. government that are unhappy that we're not doing enough to help the Ukrainians. It could be disinformation. The problem is you just don't know. But the ramifications of it you do know, which is that it's going to make the war in Ukraine more difficult for the Ukrainians to fight and prevail if that's our goal. But the other thing is, to me, and I've been at this for 45 years, when you start seeing leaks like this, big-time leaks throughout from probably several departments and agencies in the U.S. government, that's usually an indication that all is not well in those services, whether it's military services, intelligence services. And I think that they are the outward and visible sign that our intelligence services and our military services are not happy. Whether they're not happy with the political direction of their senior leadership, whether they're not happy with the abilities that they're given, the capabilities they're given, whether they think that we're not achieving the right mission, you know, focused again somewhere other than Asia, which is what the main focus of our attention should be at. So it's just a lot of unanswered questions. But any investigation of what happened, look, come on. The horses are already out of the barn. The important thing is to what is the damage assessment, how do we fix it? Not what happened, who did it, why.
Right. Next one for you, and I know you have something to say on this. Senator Lindsey Graham is ripping into the Biden administration for its report on the withdrawal from Afghanistan. Listen to this, KT. I'll get your comments.
This report is a political whitewash by the Biden administration to shift blame. When the Biden administration tells you there are no terrorists in Afghanistan, they are lying. There's a lethal cocktail forming. Rise of terrorism in Afghanistan, a broken border here in the United States. It's only a matter of time till there's another 9/11 if we don't change policies. My view of what happened in Afghanistan by Biden was he paved the way for another 9/11.
Do you agree with the senator's analysis, KT?
Yeah, sure. But the important point is an even bigger one, which is what the heck has happened to the United States military and the integrity of the United States military. You know, historically, 20, 30, 100 years, the U.S. military and the intelligence services, they were independent. They didn't serve political masters. They told it straight. Their job was to fight and win wars, or to analyze what the enemy was up to and to help us take steps to counter those capabilities of our adversaries. What's the purpose of the military now? I mean, I look at the American military, and I don't think I've ever seen it, and this is including in the heights of the post-Vietnam period, where they have now turned into political hacks, right? Everybody knows that the Afghanistan withdrawal was a disaster. I mean, the military equipment we left behind, we could have been, you know, we could have been supporting Ukraine 10 times over with what we just left behind in the battlefields. So the military senior leadership and the political senior leadership, they have now, I think they've abrogated their oath to the Constitution. They've now become political hacks. They're doing cover jobs for political leaders. Why? Because they all want to stay in office. They all want to get the perks. But what's happening is that the United States military is not capable of doing the job they're supposed to be doing, right? Defending the United States, keeping that southern border closed, looking ahead at the weapon systems of the future, developing technologies like hypersonic weapons that we don't have, the Chinese and the Russians have. What are we doing? We're so focused on wokeism and CYA reports, whitewashed reports, that we're not doing what we're paying and asking these people when they raise their right hand and they take their oath of office. We're not allowing them, or they're not allowing themselves to fulfill their oath of office.
Couldn't have put it better. What a sad state of affairs. But KT McFarland calling it as it is. KT, thank you so much.